We would have loved to be able to speak with a few members of parliament, but right now what we're being told is as they are seated on the floor in the middle of the road, they will not be open to engaging with the media now. There have been a few engagements earlier, and their demand is simple, that what is happening to the Ashanti Regional Chairman, Bernard Ntwibo-Esiako, is purely politics and has almost nothing to do with proper rule of law. The demand is also that the bail conditions for Chairman Wontumi be varied so that he will be able to, if you like, provide what is being demanded to ensure that his bail conditions are met. I'm talking about some 50 million cedis and 2 sureties, which should be, if you like, validated or verified. Now, this morning, we understood that for the demands, Chairman Wontumi and his lawyers, they've been able to provide for 1 surety to be, which has been verified. There was 1 more to ensure that his bail conditions are met. What is looking like right now is that that has not been met yet. So we still do not know what has become of the demands. We still do not know what has become of the bail conditions yet. But earlier also we were informed that not everybody knows the whereabouts of the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the NPP, Chairman Wontumi, there. So they're chanting patriotic songs right now. Let's listen to some of the songs they're singing at the moment.
I'll bring you more sound from that sit-in protest on the frontage of EOCO, this time by members of the minority caucus in Parliament, led by their leader, Alexander Apenyo-Markin. The cause for which they are there is pretty simple: release Chairman Wontumi, review down the bail conditions that have been given him, some 50 million cedis, and 2 sureties. We understand that one of those conditions has not been met. Based on what the MPs have communicated to the press so far, it would appear the 50 million cedi worth of wealth is the difficulty that they're having at the moment. The minority leader on the floor of Parliament just before they walked was very emphatic on what they needed. He thought that Chairman Wontumi is unwell. Remember that this is the 3rd day since he's been in detention of EOCO, but he spent 2 nights there already. On the first night, after hours of interrogation, he had taken ill and was taken to the hospital as a result of that. Yesterday, he was granted bail. We know that, and if you've been watching us, you know we reported to you he was unable to meet those bail conditions, which meant that he stayed there in EOCO's detention. Whether or not he had been released from hospital and in EOCO's headquarters remains unclear. But we know that he is still in EOCO's custody, right? And so now what the minority caucus is asking for is that release him and release him now. The bail condition is too high. He's unwell and he needs to be attended to properly, medically speaking. And that is why they have embarked on this sit-in protest in the frontage or on the frontage of EOCO's offices here in Accra. I just want to show you or tell you that indeed a few of the things that the minority leader has said already. He wants them to vary the bail terms. The man is unwell. He is in their custody. They know, and I'm telling our friends in the NDC, treat others the way you expect them to treat you. That is from the minority leader, Alexander Apenyo-Markin. We should take you there shortly once we get the connection back to our reporters on the ground. In the meantime, let's have a quick chat with Richard Kumado, who is a security analyst with extensive knowledge of national security operations. Richard, here we are again. We've spoken about supporters going to the frontage of EOCO. This time, the minority caucus members themselves have decided to take it upon themselves to demand Chairman Wontumi's release. What readings are you making of this?
Definitely, there are two ways. Either they will allow them in as visitors to EOCO, and they will comfortably give them a chair and the issues to be explained to them. Or number two, they will leave them outside. And once they are outside, it means that the level of respect given to them as members of parliament is taken away from them, and they'll be there as any other person. Number three, which is more important than number two and number one, is that when they misconduct themselves, they'll be treated as people interfering in law enforcement operations, and they could be charged collectively or individually. I think what we are doing in Ghana is to create the premise where the limits of law enforcement officers will be curtailed, and individuals' rights will be projected far above what the tenets of the Constitution say and the laws that establish these very institutions, which are critical to the safety and the stability of the state. So I think we need to manage it in that particular manner. Other than that, it will become very difficult for law enforcement officers to do their job without much interference in the manner we are seeing.
I see. Let's look at the demands they are making on EOCO for EOCO to review down or vary the bail conditions, 50 million Ghana cedis and 2 sureties. From your experience in the operations of national security, is this possible? Should they have gone about this a different way?
No, I think they should have used the court, speak to the Attorney General in that regard. And number two, it can be done, but it depends on the conduct and the action of the particular person involved and those who are supporting him or her. If you look at the two scenarios, what happened to the Kasua MP when NDC was in opposition at the Cantonment police station, and what took place in the front of EOCO? If you use the two as a case study, then you will realize that the elements are different, the core components are different, the issues are different, and therefore they are being handled differently. In this particular case, there's a particular situation of our brother Wontumi, who has come at a crime investigation or has some questions to be answered. Peculiar in the sense that he is not too well, according to the report. People representing him in terms of the law and the national structure is at stake and the political angle. I think we are doing the right things by using the wrong channels, and those leading should have exploited some other means instead of the procedure they have chosen. Once you come headlong against law enforcement officers who know what they're about and they know the person you are defending have questions to answer, they could create some level of problems for you and the person. And I think we need to manage it properly so that we don't exacerbate the already fragile democratic space we have in this country.
Hey, Richard, hang out to that a little bit more because I want to take us back live to the EOCO offices where the minority caucus is gathered at the moment. Let's take a look at some sights and sounds from there right now. Well, you're seeing some live pictures from the frontage of EOCO here in Accra. In your shot now is the second whip of the minority caucus, Bawe Wager MP, Bawe constituency MP, Jerry Ahmed in the shots there. Obviously, he would appear to be in the beginning of the lineup of the student protest as we see now. We also see a host of other people we imagine are supporters of the party who are gathered there to lend a voice to the calls that the minority caucus, their leaders, are making at this time. But as you well saw, they said there will be no media engagement as of now. It would appear they have changed their minds and some are granting some interviews in there. But the gentleman you see on the floor in the white is the minority leader, Alexander Apenyo-Making. He has made some emphatic statements already, both on the floor of Parliament and when he arrived at the scene where this sit-in protest is ongoing right now. There also is the Nsawa Madrejiri MP, Frank Anot Dompre, also controlling the crowd, standing in front. Indeed, it is crowd, a mix of onlookers and media people. He's controlling the crowd to ensure that the MPs who are on the sit-in protest as well have some ventilation, I would imagine. We have some sounds now. Let's get the ambience of what's going on there.
Charlie. Mamile. Sister. Hello. Oh. Yes.
We are still looking at some live pictures from the offices of EOCO here in Accra. Remember that earlier today we had told you that there was police presence there even before this sit-in protest began. And so it's no surprising that they are still there guarding the presence. And again, there's history to that because we know in the last 3 days, today inclusive, supporters of Chairman Wontumi, the Ashanti Regional MPP chairman, have amassed at the frontage of EOCO demanding his release. Last night when he was released, he was unable to meet those bail conditions, which is what has sparked today's sit-in protest by members of the majority caucus. And now what we see on our screen, it's very interesting because these people are on a very serious venture to ensure the release of their Ashanti Regional chairman. But there they are also being forced to exchange pleasantries with supporters of the party and some onlookers as well. So there it is. They're sitting on the floor demanding that EOCO reviews down the bail conditions given Chairman Wontumi so that they can release him, especially with the backdrop that he is unwell at the moment. Still with us is Richard Kumado. Richard Kumado is a national security analyst. He has extensive knowledge of national security affairs. Indeed. So let's continue our conversation, Richard, while we look at those live pictures from there. And what I see now, it would appear police have brought in reinforcement, crowd control reinforcement, so to speak. We have seen the FPU before. Can we listen to that engagement between the crowd and the police reinforcement vehicle?
Yeah, definitely, I can hear some conversations going on there.
No, hang on for me. Let's listen to some live sounds from there. As far as that engagement is concerned, it would appear the crowd is blocking the movement of the police van, the police crowd control van. Let's listen to that ambience and then come back to
No, the car is already right in the middle of the road. You are a police officer. Why do you want to drive your mother? But this is a public road. I understand. It has been blocked. What do
Here, that the supporters there are preventing the movement of that police crowd control vehicle. We're seeing some lorry tires also being rolled through the spaces available in that area. Still on the frontage of EOCO, is unclear what this is all about, why those tires are there. I could take a wild guess, but I won't do that at this point. We'll see what will happen in the hours or minutes to come. But there you have it, national organizer of the party, Henry Nana Boakye, in a conversation with one of the crowd control police officers there at the moment. From his outfit, I could say that he is a member of the FPU, because again, I've also seen the vehicle of the FPU there, who they would usually send on operations such as this. That engagement or interaction has ended and Henry Nana Boakye is headed towards the sit-in protest right there. And there we have it. Remember when I told you that I see these young people rolling tires? The tires have been gathered on the floor. There's a policeman present, obviously wanting to inquire what is happening, inquire about what is happening at the moment. Let's get some sounds now. Live pictures from EOCO where a mix of supporters, onlookers, media personnel, and members of the minority caucus in Parliament have gathered on the frontage of EOCO. Why are they there? The minority caucus members say they want Chairman Wontumi released immediately. But again, those tires have been used as some form of a barricade, but we also see that some party members are removing the tires the young people had gathered and were blocking the streets in front of EOCO with. We also saw that huge boulder rocks of sorts that was put in the middle of the road as well. That has also been removed, I would assume. But there you have it, live pictures there. The police are there to keep order, to keep people safe. Hopefully it is all that will happen. But I do have my security analyst and over the telephone with me. Let's have a quick chat while we look at those live pictures from EOCO right now. Richard, like I was saying earlier, if you've been following the pictures, it would appear young people who are, members of or a part of that crowd are becoming very, very excited and are already starting to pull tires and blocking the road in front of EOCO and the likes. You're a security person. How are you analyzing this whole situation?
I think it's insubordination and misconduct led by parliamentarians who should have known better. I would love to call for high levels of discipline actions against those who led this particular action to the EOCO office. You remember that even if you talk about the bill conditions and terms, this year, some other people have their bill terms review when they use the court procedure. And I want to believe that actions and conduct of this particular nature is becoming a threat to the state itself and is more likely to create insecurity within the premises of EOCO or within the catchment area, knowing that it's a busy vehicular traffic area opposite to the Supreme Court, and the other side is the hockey court and the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. And so even though it's not a security zone, but we can say it's a sensitive zone. And activities within this particular zone will have to be measured. And people who operate there will need some level of restrictions or statutory laws to grant them that permission. What we are seeing is lawlessness and it's high levels of indiscipline. But I'm thinking that politically, this year, If you remember, when Mahama Yariga made a comment on the floor of the House, I came to say that he got it wrong. And this particular arrest and investigations wouldn't stop now. I think the leadership of NDC and NPP in Parliament, they've gotten it wrong. And I think it is a high time they go back to the House and they look at how they relate when it comes to issues of investigations and safety and public safety, in particular, and security assurances where national security institutions are involved, because the approach and methodology is far, far below the status of people in Parliament, particularly the leadership.
Indeed, and Richard, this poses a security challenge for the police at this time, especially because of the location of EOCO, very close to the central business district, if you like, and then also, I just saw a little child in school uniform waves through the crowd trying to make her way to home, I suppose. And that also, is a challenge that the police will have to deal with, separating the crowd who are there for Chairman Wontumi's sit-in protest and, people who are going about their daily activities. What would be your recommendations to the police on how to ensure that everyday people who are going about their daily activities but need that stretch of the city are safe?
Now, I think high levels of circumspection and high levels of professionalism when it comes to crowd control will be demanded of the law enforcement, particularly the police. My fear and my concern is that we are creating a premises where, if care is not taken, one of these gatherings could trigger a standoff between law enforcement officers and civilians. And when that happens, vulnerable people get caught in between, and the levels of severity and vulnerabilities could be high. And there could be casualties on both sides, particularly civilians who might find themselves at the wrong place at the wrong time. We need to call these people to order. One way of doing it is to get everybody arrested and carry them somewhere. The second approach they may adopt is to take the person who has come at a crime investigation, change the location, and take this person to a high-level security zone where persons of political...
Richard, hold the rest of your thoughts for me. I want to take us back there and take a listen to this MP who is speaking to the press right now. Indeed, Richard, you're making the point about arresting everybody, but isn't that a bit too brash, considering that the right to protest is one that is enjoyed by everybody?
Definitely. Conduct of demonstrators are important. Behavior of people who lead demonstrations are important. Behavior of law enforcement officers are also important. Managing crowds that erupt spontaneously, like we are talking about, is also important. The only difficulty is that the nature of the particular case and the personality involved and the conditions, particularly when he was actually being released, as yesterday night we spoke, and it is the duty of this person to know the bail terms that he failed or refused to do that. Then that changes the dynamics. And people might say you are taking the law into your own hands, and to that extent, drastic measures could be meted out to civilians who may find themselves at the wrong place at the wrong time. One other thing that is so critical is that in times such as this, our nephews and nieces and brothers and sisters who might find themselves there, the law enforcement officers have a way of doing the profiling. And once those profiling are done and done properly, so it affects you in almost everything you do from now on till you die. And people just think, oh, it's just a gathering to show support to our party members or sympathizers or loyalists who come to our aid. But it has several implications. I would suggestively recommend that we let the lawyers of Chairman Wontumi get a job done, get into EOCO, look out for people who have the muscle, who have the money, and meet the bill terms. If that is not done, get back to court, let the Attorney General come and restrategize, because that was done for some people who were arrested this year and who was in charge and whose bill terms they could not meet. So they went back to court and it was reviewed. This particular one look a little bit more like a patapa, and I don't think Wontumi will be released based on the number of people who gather there. The only way he will be released is when reason prevails and some level of conditionality terms have been made between the security agencies or the investigators in this case and the lawyers of Wontumi.
Richard, hang on for me. Let me bring in now Dr. Victor Doke, who is also a security analyst. Well, my understanding is Dr. Victor Doke is not with us at the moment. When he joins our conversation, I'll let him in on what we have discussed so far and pick his thoughts. But I will take you back right now. Richard, hang out with us a little bit more while we go back to the EOCO offices here in Accra and join the crowd there. Take a listen to what is happening.
Opa.
Again, another heated exchange between the police personnel and a section of the crowd there. And you know, it brings me to the question that all of this is very confusing because you are unable to tell who is a party supporter and who is a hooligan who is just infiltrating the crowd to cause mayhem. This would be about the third confrontation we're seeing between a section of the crowd and police personnel. At one point in time, you see a member of the party intervene. Very tricky, very difficult moment, I would assume, for security people. But I'll have you respond to that, Dr. Victor Doke. You're just joining the conversation. What do you think? Hello, Doc. Can you hear us?
Hello? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me too?
We can now.
All right. Thank you very much. So I think this is all very disturbing. Now, first of all, the state security, the police and EOCO officials should have preempted that this was going to happen. From last night, that was a warning sign. They failed to pick up that warning signal with regards to people marching up. And then also, they failed to preempt that members of parliament of the opposition will likely, right, come and do what they are doing. So they failed to initiate their early warning system with regard to this particular issue. Now, there are hooligans in there, there are criminal elements in there, there are party people in there. It's difficult to identify who has the ulterior motive. It's all mixed up in there. Most of these people standing there are also bystanders. You have these young guys who have nothing to do this morning and will avail themselves for anything when you call upon them. The party leadership, the core leadership executives in cases that are seen there should be called and talked to. Now, if only they know that if things should go haywire, all of them will be picked up. Notable cases, for example, the young man I saw with a helmet and a green jacket, exchanging words, and when you read his lips, insulting a state police official, should know that in the next 70 years, you will be picked up. Okay? At the time that you can't harass or put the life of a state official in that situation. So then, what even comes to the fact that lawmakers will sit in the street? First of all, is it lawful? We have lawful assemblies where you go through the process, notify the police, they provide protection and all of that. This is one of the reasons why you notify the police for them to provide protection. Now, God forbid if anything should go haywire and tear happens, and then the police would be required to fire tear gas or rubber bullets to disperse the crowd to protect life and property and state assets, then you will see that they will all be caught in the line of fire. I think this is very wrong. We should call the leadership and talk to them. The MPs should know that, yes, you have every right to demonstrate, but to do it lawfully. Now, what we are doing is somewhat inciting these young fellows, okay, to back them, even though we know the processes. Now, whatever is being done now will not, in one way or the other, affect Wontumi's process with regards to investigations or whatnot. And they know that whoever the state invites and calls upon to come and assist in the investigations will do so. The state has authority and power it could gas to prosecution. And I think they know that. So, for everybody's sake, for the sake of calmness, for the sake that we wouldn't have any lives injured, or anybody getting injured, or any lives lost. Because as you said, I've seen a little kid walking there. As I said, some of them are excited, some just want to see what is going on. And if the unfortunate incident should happen, they would be affected because they cannot have the energy to run. So we should be able to talk to these lawmakers that yes, you can we sat down, it's okay, because I'm wondering how long they can take
Well, Doc, just hold on for me. We'll go back there now and take a listen to Alexander Penyo-Markin.
Justification today will not provide justification tomorrow. We are not going to provide 15 million Ghana cedi worth of property, titled property with valuation report. Raymond Acha must know that his work is guided by Article 296.
The minority leader say that now they are ready to but no justification.
They must know that they are guided by Article 296. Enough is enough.
Saying that 50 million they are not going to buy
we shall wait to save Ghana.
National Chairman Wontumi, we are waiting for Wontumi.
So some more live pictures from the EOCO head offices here in Accra. Earlier was Alexander Apenyo marking the minority leader, reiterating that they want the bill conditions reviewed, referring EOCO to Article 296 on exercise of discretionary power. In this case, A and B will apply, and B particularly, which says the exercise of the discretionary power shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased, either by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with due process of law. And in more clear language of what the minority leader said in Parliament before they headed for their sit-in protest, he said EOCO must do its work, but it must also do its work by the law. And that's why I'm going to, at this point, with Dr. Victor Doka. Doc, quickly, two things I want you to do for me. Analyze EOCO. Are they doing something wrong at this point, as the minority leader will have the rest of the country believe? And really, tonight, as we see things develop, you are much more knowledgeable in security matters than perhaps I am. How should the police relate in this matter to ensure that it does not degenerate?
Now, first of all, I was hoping that the police and EOCO, through collaboration, would have picked up signals right from Parliament House that the third MPs were coming. Now, it's the presence of the third MPs that have added to the numbers of these people that we are seeing, so that if they have picked up or planted agents in there to hear their discussions, they would have known that they were coming in there. They would have barricaded the area, cordoned it off 50 meters from the main EOCO office on 3 security or barricade levels, 1, 2, and 3. If you cross the first line, you are warned. If you cross the second, then you are arrested. That wasn't done. That's why we are seeing this. Now, to prevent any ills and any unforeseen circumstances, the authorities, EOCO, the police, should come together, call the hierarchy of the party members, the NPP party members, and then give them some briefing, not necessarily update on the gentleman, which they already know, give them briefing that their presence there would eventually, after the numbers came out, will invade the area and then cause mayhem. And when they are forced to retaliate or use minimal force to apprehend these criminals, they may be likely caught in fire. This discussion should be had. Now, the national security, NIV, henceforth should know that if they are performing their mandate with regards to going in, arrest the person who has been alleged to cause financial loss or whatever, they should be able to preempt and do a risk assessment, evaluate the situation, and analyze well where they need to cordon off the area to do so, where they need to relay information to do so. I think most of the issues is because of lack of information coming in. The state security is not a way of giving out information with regards to what is happening. They have to. There are communication bureaus in these institutions, like the police will do, updates with the CID boss coming and giving updates on criminal issues. These state institutions should also participate.
Very well.
If they can do, they can learn. And then we should criticize any unforeseen circumstances. But the citizens should know that any attempt to prevent the law enforcement agents from performing their role will be met with some limited force. And I think they know. So if that happens, will the MPs still sitting there, or they will all go home and the citizens will be at the mercy of the police? We should tell them something. So then you allow the state institutions to work. I think that's what we want. So whoever comes into power, we know if A and B is called to come and answer questions, the state institution is working, not the individuals. Individuals will come and go, but the state institutions will remain. We are trying to build a robust and independent state institutions that will work for the betterment of our future.
Very well, Doc. I appreciate your time talking to us on this matter. Thank you so much. Dr. Victor Doke is a security analyst. Now, as a news organization, it's our responsibility to ensure that our work does not upend or disturb the security of our nation. But first, we must stay safe and secure in order to bring you the news. And that's why, as a news organization, we've taken the decision to end the coverage for now. We'll bring you more in later broadcasts starting at 7 p.m. with News 360. But do join us at on 3news.com for all that you have seen so far. My name is Kemini Amano. Thank you for your company. Bye.